Weatherall Institute for Molecular Medicine plays an incredibly important role.
It's one of the most influential and important medical research institutes we have in the UK.
The MRC Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine is a leading disease research centre specialising in molecular and cell biology. Established in 1989 at the University of Oxford, its pioneering approach over the last 25 years has fostered a wide range of significant scientific breakthroughs, leading it to be considered one of the foremost research centres in the world.
By the 1970s, it was quite clear that molecular biology and related fields were going to be a key part of medicine and medical research in the future. So a building became available on this site, and I approached the faculty board and suggested that we set up an institute. I approached the Medical Research Council, and they sent a group of high-powered scientists to look us over to see if we were fit to do this kind of thing. Amazingly, they said we were. When we set it up, it probably was the only place in the world with those kind of facilities.
Extensive funding has created a large centre of excellence. The Institute currently houses over 400 scientific, technical and support staff, in addition to approximately 100 students. 3 large floors of research laboratories are complemented by a central meeting and social area, a library and seminar and conference rooms.
Well, when I became director, the first thing was I wanted to expand the space to increase to relieve some of the congestion. The building was so successful it was over full. It had become clear that technologies were advancing fast and everyone needed access to the best and most up-to-date technology. So I'm a great believer in collaboration, that you can, with good collaborations, you can go much faster. So I think this was one of the first, this kind of institute, and there have been lots of similar kinds of institutes coming up, and not least in Oxford. So I think the model is seen as quite successful.
The Institute has been instrumental in understanding the biological processes of disease. Testimony to this are the many awards and accolades that have been earned. 15 Institute scientists have become Fellows of the Royal Society, and in 2010 Sir David Weatherall received the Lasker-Koshland Award for Special Achievement in Medical Science.
I can't imagine a more exciting time to be doing medical research, and over the last 40 years there have been dramatic changes in our understanding of the basics underlying medicine. And I think for the last 25 years the doctors and scientists at the Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine have been at the heart of this revolution. It was here we first learnt about how abnormalities in the genes that make the red cell pigment haemoglobin cause the world's most common forms of inherited anemia. And as a result of this, we can now help families with these awful diseases, which often require lifelong blood transfusion. It was also in this institute that scientists first discovered how the immune system recognises and eradicates viruses. More recently, scientists here have worked out how the HIV/AIDS virus disguises itself to avoid the immune system. And our colleagues who look after sick children were also instrumental in developing the vaccines that, against the bugs that cause meningitis. Scientists at the WIMM have made major breakthroughs in understanding how the body senses oxygen and how cancers may develop new ways to obtain the oxygen they need to grow. So there are many more examples of great breakthroughs at the WIMM, including diseases of the kidney, the heart, the muscle, and those diseases that affect normal development.
Although a vast range of human disease is covered by the Weatherall Institute, much of the research focuses on 5 key themes.
The immune system is a network of cells, tissues and organs, which is crucial for human health, as all these components work together to defend the body from attacks by pathogens such as microbes, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and also to kill cancer cells, while tolerating and ignoring normal healthy cells in the body. The globalization of infectious diseases and the increased numbers of patients with cancer and patients with autoimmune diseases such as Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis is becoming a major threat, and the MRC Human Immunology Unit is a key player in this international worldwide effort.
So our body is composed of tissues, and these tissues are composed of cells, and a stem cell is really a parental cell that gives rise to all the other cells within a tissue. It's thought that in many cancers the problems really start with stem cells going wrong. And our lab is interested to understand the changes that occur in a stem cell that gives rise to acute myeloid leukemia in a patient. And the point of this is to try and identify new ways of trying to eradicate these diseases.
So what we're interested in is really two simple questions. How do you normally make blood, and how does that go wrong in patients with severe forms of anemia or leukemia? And the sort of principle that we work on is the fact that you're born with a set of stem cells in your bone marrow, and they divide and multiply and form all the mature cells that you see in the peripheral blood. And it may surprise you to know that every second you make 2 or 3 million red cells. So what we're trying to do is to understand how the genes are switched on and off during that process to make a stem cell mature and form the elements of the blood. And then we also work in close contact with our clinical colleagues in the hospital who are looking after patients with these severe forms of blood diseases.
In all probability, every family in the UK and almost worldwide will have a member affected by cancer. The WIMM fosters fantastic collaborations between surgeon scientists like myself, cancer clinician scientists and basic scientists to be able to ask fundamental questions about cancers, to need to utilize a wealth of techniques, and the WIMM offers that very nicely.
So a lot of the work we do is on a disorder called craniosynostosis, and it occurs in about 1 in 2,000 to 1 in 2,500 babies. Craniosynostosis can be caused either by a faulty gene, or it could arise because of something that's happened during the pregnancy. The craniofacial unit is actually led by 2 plastic surgeons, but they're part of a much wider team that includes surgeons, other therapists such as speech therapists, and of course the clinical geneticist. But it means that we can put our heads together, different sources of expertise, and the families get an opinion in a single consultation.
So we're working with a disease called multiple sclerosis, also called MS. And we're working with this disease because it represents what we call an unmet need. It's difficult to treat patients today, and there's absolutely no cure for these patients. The way we are attacking this disease is trying to get leads for new therapy by looking at the genes that predispose to this disease.
So we're interested in trying to understand skin disease, which is very common in the UK. One of the diseases that we particularly focused on is atopic eczema, which affects 20 to 30% of children in the UK and can be associated with asthma and hay fever and also with food allergies. It causes significant impact on patients and on their families, and we see this in our clinic that we run each week in the Churchill Hospital. We're trying to understand what causes the inflammation in the skin, why the inflammation occurs, and if we can identify new approaches to treat the disease.
Iron deficiency is bad in children. It halts their development. don't get enough red blood cells, you can get growth impairment and so on. So what we really want to do is to try and give as much iron as you can to the people who really need it, but if you give iron to the wrong people, they run the risk of developing extra infections. So we're trying to develop a way of giving iron to children so they don't develop infections, but their anemia improves.
The Weatherall Institute's success can be credited to the way in which it supports research. For example, working at the molecular level generates a vast amount of data, which is managed by the Computational Biology Research Group.
Previously it took 10 years to generate one human genome, whereas now we can generate that in a couple of days. We really provide a one-stop shop for all the bioinformatics at the IMM. We've got about 30 machines of various sizes that allow the scientists and the bioinformaticians in the WIMM to analyse their data.
It feels almost as if we've been watching sort of television, just looking at a small pixel of it for quite a long time, and suddenly somebody's taken the screen and showed us the whole lot of it, and they showed us an incredibly complex picture.
The Institute has also invested heavily in imaging, so that cell processes can be seen in much greater detail.
We can, with optical microscopy, study the living cell, and that's what it's all about. We want to see how things move and develop when a cell is, for example, infected.
What we really need is a well-maintained core imaging facility that everyone has access to, and that has a broad range of different types of imaging systems to cover a broad range of activities. And now with funding from the Wolfson Foundation and the research councils, this is what we've been able to achieve. We're living in very exciting times for imaging. This is a threshold that we're just stepping over. It's very, very exciting.
Great attention is also paid to the working culture. A key feature is the large coffee area that promotes cross-disciplinary collaboration in relaxed surroundings. There is a strong focus on career development and mentoring, particularly in promoting excellence in graduate students, postdoctorates and junior group leaders. As a result, the Institute attracts high-caliber young scientists from around the world. Equally important are the regular internal seminars and the annual Open Day, where the Institute's current fields of research are presented.
I think the Weatherall is the ultimate institute full of all the scientists that suit my research.
Well, I think it's a really friendly institute, and also there's a really collaborative spirit.
And that's why it's so important to have an institute where you put bench to bench, scientist, clinician, working together, developing a common language and a common enthusiasm, I think, together. I don't think there's no substitute for having everybody in the same physical building.
The MRC Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine houses a thriving and dynamic environment in which to carry out research. A renowned centre of excellence, it continues to pioneer exploration into complex and important human diseases, generating revolutionary treatments that improve patient well-being. With 25 years of celebrated achievement to its name, the Weatherall Institute continues to pave the way in highly complex and rewarding fields of scientific research.